Hey, movie fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Uncharted Media Podcast. This is episode 211. So, 2 weeks ago, we looked at the best of the 90s, everything from 1990 to 1999. So, we're going to skip anything DC related this week in terms of our discussion. Well, we can always circle back with that now that James Gunn actually decided, to give us the information that we've all been waiting for. So, this week, we're going to talk about the 2000s, everything from 2000 to 2009. So, looking at our statistics, this is going to be our core demographics era here of just like, all of you approaching 30s or are in your 30s. This is your time to shine this week. This in the 90s. So, we're going to do as we did with the 90s. We're going to pick one movie as the best that not our favorite, but best movie of every year from 2000 to 2009. And we'll also kind of give you some context of some other movies that came out that year. But, oh boy, this is a fun trip now down nostalgia lane this week, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. It was one of those that, in theory, like I think there's a couple years I was like, oh, I know exactly what's going to be number one in that year. But then like we started, making those lists of like everything that came out and the best ones of those lists. And it was like, oh, this is going to be a lot harder than I previously thought it was going to be. But yeah, it's super exciting. I think we definitely are stepping into the decade where I think you and I are going to struggle to make sure that we're not viewing things with like the nostalgia goggles. That being said, there are some absolute bangers in this decade. So I'm pretty excited to kind of talk about it and get in there with you on it.
Well, have you been watching anything good lately, Josh?
So I know last week I had gone hard in the paint with watching a bunch of stuff. This week, for various reasons, was a little bit busier. So I wasn't able to watch a whole lot. Something that I've done recently is my second youngest brother. He and I always sit there and he loves movies. He just hasn't seen a whole lot. And so there's a lot of conversations that he and I have. I was like, hey, have you seen this? And he's like, no, I haven't seen that. So I've made like a list of easily like 200, 300 movies, across different genres, of like stuff that he had not seen, and like gave it to him. And then every night or every other night, he and I are going to watch something just to kind of get bring up his movie.
Welcome to the party, pal.
those are baby numbers. You need to up those numbers. But so that being said, we realized that he'd never seen Treasure Planet, and my dad got a new sound system, and I have not watched Treasure Planet with the new sound system. So naturally we did that. So naturally we watched that. But yeah, Treasure Planet is incredible. It was really fun to watch somebody who's never seen it before watch it in for the first time in today's time, because he's like, yeah, there's definitely some times when the CGI doesn't quite work, but like in a way you let it slide too because of like the world you're in. But he's like constantly like, that's so fascinating that you would go that direction. Like he was,
it was 2002. We can pass on the CG. We can give it a pass, I think.
Yeah, there's that too. But he also he was like, I think the thing that fascinated him the most about the movie, which is something I'd never considered before, not like in serious detail, I guess, he was super fascinated by like the solar capturing sails. And he's like, that's so cool. Like, of course, like if space is the ocean and you need to get energy and you're surrounded by solar power base. I was like, yeah, dude, I just thought it looked cool.
Just all of Treasure Planet's aesthetic is just chef's
absolutely.
kiss. I love it. And also just I want that solar board so bad. But also just like there is very few times in movies, even now having seen like Endgame and No Way Home, there's very few times that I get a bigger adrenaline rush in a movie than when he's about to go through the little turnstile when he's solar boarding at the beginning, and then it's just so good. It's
And like
beautiful.
my dad's new sound system has like some heavy subwoofer action on it. So when he's yelling and that you get like the rush of the wind, like literally like felt everything. And I was like, all right, cool. So here we are. This is gonna be fun. And of course I watched, like like millions of other people watched episode 4 of The Last of Us. It's so good.
Diarrhea is hereditary, guys. Diarrhea is
This was
hereditary.
like the most I love, how do I say this? So there was a lot of people, I don't want to get too deep into it, but there was a lot of people that did not like episode 3 for reasons.
I think it's a tad
Um
overrated, but I don't
I mean,
hate
I
it.
agree. It's still a great
Oh
episode.
yeah.
I'm not
Oh
going to
yeah.
put it at 10.
Absolutely.
I honestly think this episode 4 is closer to a 10, but that's because of some of the stuff that I don't know how to describe it, but like definitely like there's people who had not, I'm going to go with not valid reasons to hate episode 3. But episode 4 is super good. I love putting Ellie in this, a character who up to this point has been very like pro violence, very like, oh yeah, give me a gun, blah blah blah. And to then put her in a situation where she has to use it, not for the first time, but the first time for us. But to see that actually affect her and have her like seeing how those events affect her, and actually being forced to shoot somebody to save somebody else's life instead of just her own. And the fact that she like doesn't kill him and paralyzes him instead, which is terrifying. I'm very, now again, we are in the area of the game where I have no idea what to expect. I don't know what's coming. I don't know what's under the floor. I do have my theories, but like episode 4 was just chef's kiss. Like
What
so
is
good.
under the floor? What is under the floor is hereditary, and that it will run
My
down your
God,
pants
yes.
when we get to it. Of jeez. But also I think it's interesting. Of episode 4 continues the trend that episode 3 did. Of yeah, we've got some stuff from the game, like the scene in the truck. Of this is actually before my time. It is a winner though. Like that is line for line for the game. But then the I would say antagonist of this episode is a completely
Yes.
new character wholesale. So I'm very curious to see where that storyline goes. I was worried for just a brief second, and then those worries went away. I was worried for a section of this episode that we were getting too close to Purge territory and not Last of Us, because there is a distinction, I think. But that didn't last very long. It's like, oh, okay, that's not the route we're going here. It's just the aesthetics kind of seemed purgy for a second here. But this episode was important because we were really starting to see the foundation of the relationship between Joel and Ellie, and I love it so much. But then we get two characters teased at the end of this episode for next week, which get me super excited to see where that. Having played the game, I know where that leads, and it makes me super excited. But also, a friendly reminder for Josh and for everyone at home. Don't wait till Sunday for a new episode of Last of Us. The new episode drops on Friday, so it doesn't have to go up against the Super Bowl. Even if it went up against the Super Bowl, it could probably still post pretty good numbers because it continues to grow by like 1 million viewers each week, which is incredible. Besides episode 4, Heather and I have gone back and we're rewatching the Ant-Man movies to get ready for Quantumania, and it's mixed reviews that we're seeing, which I'm just going, haha, I wish I was surprised. I still have hope that Quantumania can be a lot of fun, but the first one is still just fine to me. Like, Ant-Man it's good. I like Paul Rudd a lot. Charming cast, but it just has never felt the most significant. They're good palate cleansers. So they're fun. I enjoy Ant-Man enough, but I was kind of hoping that rewatching it, I'd be like, oh wow, there's this really deep appreciation that I never knew I had for Ant-Man, or I really value it more as a franchise. I'm glad these exist, but like,
they're never going to be your favorites.
No.
at no point you're gonna be like, yeah, top 10 Marvel movies, definitely Ant-Man, blah blah blah. But like, I don't think that's gonna be the case. I don't think that would even be the case for me. I will say I am actively avoiding that clip that they posted just because I want to go into this with as fresh eyes as I can. But yeah, so like, cool week. A lot of really cool stuff to talk about this week. So let's get into it.
First up is some heavy speculation, but it seems pretty likely that this is going to happen, and that is that we have our first director attached to the new DC Universe project, to a DC Universe project, and it's coming from Swamp Thing, and apparently James Gunn has just some very high-profile friends, as it seems that Logan and Ford v Ferrari director James Mangold might be the one taking the helm of the Swamp Thing movie, and I'm just going, oh. So you're going the exact opposite of the Marvel formula. And I know we don't want to compare, but that's what we do as comic book fans. Marvel has a really good strategy that they've implemented over the years of find up-and-coming directors or TV directors and turn them into film directors. It worked with Joe and Anthony Russo. Jon Favreau was still kind of on the come-up when he directed Iron Man back in 2008. They don't get as many big profile directors. They got Sam Raimi, but that was more of just Kevin Feige just going, I'm burnt out. I need someone that can just autopilot this movie without me backseating this. This excites me greatly. I really, really enjoy James Mangold. For the most part, Identity was a movie that no one remembers, and it is for good reason. But Logan, obviously, will get the headlines just like, Logan director doing DC Swamp Thing. But I'm like, yeah, Logan is one of the best comic book movies of all time, but Ford v Ferrari is also incredible. Walk the Line is also really, really good. Like, this guy has a very good resume, but also, like, I think Josh and I are just more excited for Swamp Thing than a lot of other people. Like, I'm seeing some enthusiasm for Swamp Thing, but everyone's like, Superman Legacy, or The Brave and the Bold, or even Supergirl, which... Also, huge props to James Gunn. Because of him, all these comics are like sold out across the board,
which is wild.
I freaking love it. I love that people are getting in comics now. I'm just like, come on in, the water's fine. There's a little pee over there, but it's all good, man. I love that people are getting into comics. I love that it's like sold out across the board. I'm really, really excited about this pick. If this is true, right now it's just in talks, but oh boy, they're swinging for the fences in terms of searching for the best talent for projects.
Yeah, he definitely, like, James was already saying, like, we want the best people for the job. We don't really care about really anything except for if you're the best fit. That's director, actor, whatever. Which is really cool. I really like that idea. There is obviously some like gray area when it comes to
green area
animation. Huh?
Green area?
I hate you. Some gray area when it comes to like the voice actors to live action. Do you go vice versa? But anyway, that's a conversation for another day. That being said, we've got, this guy did, like you said, has done Logan, Ford v Ferrari. We're doing like a 310 to Yuma, which is easily one of my favorite westerns of all time.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one later.
Yeah, and he's directing the new Indiana Jones movie. So like, depending on how that goes, we'll see. But I get more and more excited looking at his resume and thinking of what he could possibly do with Swamp Thing. I'm just excited for Swamp Thing in general. He's such a pivotal character in the world of DC, at least on, the Earth side of things. And he's a character that I don't think we got that like one mini series a long time ago,
which supposedly is pretty good, but they just went drastically over budget.
Yeah, which, I mean, you've got a character that's completely made out of nature.
Well, that was more of the location didn't give them the tax breaks.
There's also that. But I think the more and more I think about it, I'm just excited about Swamp Thing in general. Like, if James does it, even better. The idea that, the computer graphics that we capabilities that we have these days to make this guy look incredible. Even like the ability to do like like in camera effects and stuff like that. Like that, I think now is the best time to do a Swamp Thing movie. And maybe we're going in different, we're in like opposite circles here, but Swamp Thing was the one for a lot of people that was like, oh, we're finally getting Swamp Thing. Oh, okay, that one in Booster Gold was like, whoa, okay, so he really does like know his stuff, and he actually wants to fill out the world, not just with the Justice League. And I think, and one of the big takeaways that I'm taking from not just James, the slate that James Gunn's put forward, but also kind of us as DC fans of what the general reaction has been. You can tell which people are only read DC Comics when it has the word Justice League on it. You can tell
Zack
which
Snyder on
only
it.
watch, Zack Snyder, or only read the comics that are of the these seven people that are in the Justice League. Yes, the Authority is kind of super niche. It is definitely his passion project, but I love, and I think I said this whenever we talked about the slate. I love the idea of showing us how this could go wrong and then giving us the Justice League so that we're aware of like the bad of what a team up could mean. It's just, I really like what we're doing, and I'm really excited for Swamp Thing.
I think also Swamp Thing presents a weirder side of the DC universe. Like the Authority will clearly show like the boys side of it, of like superheroes with roguish tendencies, and then you get your classic stuff with Superman and Batman, Brave and the Bold. Swamp Thing can get the weirder, darker, magical sides. I could see this being an R-rated movie pretty easily.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I hope it opens the door for Zatanna or Constantine. Constantine might be a little tricky because there's conflicting reports about whether or not the Keanu Reeves one, the Constantine 2, is canceled or not. They said earlier today that it's still moving forward. I'm going, you were never big on your convictions on that movie. From everything I heard, it just seemed like you're capitalizing on the Keanu-sans. I'm indifferent either way. If we get it, cool. If it gets canceled, whatever. But I'm hoping Swamp Thing opens the door for other mystical beings. Like I said, Swamp Thing teaming up with Etrigan, please. Oh yes, please. Because I thought about this earlier. For the human version of Etrigan, I want Jason Isaacs, Lucius Malfoy from Harry Potter. I think it would be a great fit. But for Swamp Thing, here's an unconventional pick. And I don't think he'll do it because he cares more about being a prestige actor nowadays. I think this would be the spot that you cast Batista.
I can see that too.
Batista or Ron Perlman for Swamp Thing.
Yes.
Because voices.
I don't know, man. There's been some fan cast. I think the one I saw was Dave Batista for Mr. Strange, for Doctor Strange or whatever.
Hugo Strange.
Which I really like. Hugo Strange. There it is.
He's a little too big for that, I think.
Yeah. We'll see. But yeah, I'm really excited about it. I think this is it's just fun. Like, it's just fun to be excited about DC again.
Speaking of getting excited for things in DC, this felt like an inevitability, especially as soon as they said, oh yeah, Damian is going to be the Robin that we meet in Brave and the Bold. Everyone's just going, yeah, but what about everybody else? Well, it seems like Peter Safran has come out and clarified. He's like, oh no, we're not going to just have Damian in the Brave and the Bold. There's going to be multiple members of the Batfamily, because in his words, he says that they've been sitting on the sidelines for too long. And I just go, bless you, hallelujah, you're absolutely right. Just because of the Chris O'Donnell situation doesn't mean Robin can't work on the big screen. And I saw a lot of really dumb people out there just going, well, if you've got Damian in there, you're just going to completely skip over Dick, Jason, and Tim. I'm just going, they're not going to do that. James Gunn is too much of a fanboy to skip over all of them.
There's no way. Yeah, because you can't have them come after Damian. It just doesn't make sense. Like,
but
yeah, some people are thinking with their anger, not with their actual brain here.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll get all three of those Robins, but I wouldn't be
Mhm.
surprised if we get at least one or two, maybe even Batgirl here, but that wound might still be a little too fresh for the studio. But
Yeah.
I like that we're, like I said, we're getting multiple members of the Bat family. I'm going, so it feels like at this point, you could probably nail down Batman, obvious. Damian, obvious. Talia al Ghul feels pretty obvious for those
I
that
feel
don't
like
know the
that one
comic.
feels, yeah.
That's Batman's baby mama, the mother of Damian that we're gonna meet in this movie. Potentially Raish again, Raish slash Roz, depending on who wants to write the story. From there, and I'm not just saying this because I'm 100% biased and I'm a third of the way through the script for the sequel, but Damian has probably the closest relationship to Dick of all the former
Yeah.
Robins. So having the adopted son clashed with the birth son feels like a natural story progression to me. And also,
Yeah.
Dick Grayson is the Robin that most people are familiar with. So I think it's easy for the general population, who, the heathens that they are, don't know who Nightwing is, to introduce him into the universe as Nightwing off the bat alongside a Robin, to show the casual people that don't know there is multiple Robins to say, no. You've heard of Dick Grayson before. He's this now, but Robin, there is still a Robin, and it's this. So that could be an easy way to explain the changing of the guard over time to people that still think that there was only ever one Robin, despite the fact that there's been probably too many. Yeah, I said it. But I think this is a good sign. I know some people, and I think this is one of the few valid criticisms that I've seen some people have, is if we're just jumping straight into Damian and Dick is already Nightwing, Jason could be either dead or Red Hood. If Superman is young, doesn't that kind of throw off the dynamic that Nightwing and Superman have? I'm going, that yes, potentially, because in the comics and in the first Nightwing movie that's ever going to come out, written by me, Superman gives the name of Nightwing to Dick. Like, that's the story. However, a good counter argument I've seen is somebody suggested the idea that Superman Legacy is actually a prequel, and that when we get to the main, like later on, they'll be closer in age, and Superman could just age slower than the rest of the Justice League. I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea.
Yeah.
But you see multiple Bat family members have been confirmed. What do you think the over under is for multiple? Like, let's put the over under. 2 members of the Bat family not named Damian in this movie.
I really honestly think Nightwing's is a shoe-in. I really don't think it's that much of a stretch to say that he'll be in this film. I also just want him to exist so we get that little animation fight between them, but in real life, would be hilarious.
And also, you just want it to happen so you can stop hearing me complaining about it.
Yeah, exactly. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Tim is around. I can see just kind of what we've gotten from James. I think I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Jason is still considered dead. I would not be surprised if he saves that, and I think because it's a very, very good story, comic book wise on its own. I really don't see any issue with that. I'm pretty okay with that. I think if they do go Batgirl, it will not be Barbara Gordon. That might be just because I really want Cassandra Cain, but I don't think I think the wound is still too fresh for them to go with Batgirl. If they bring Barbara Gordon, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm trying to see who you can bring in, who you save the stories for, because I can see them having Barbara Gordon already being Oracle, but then that kind of makes the events of like the Killing Joke. Well, I guess Killing Joke isn't necessarily canon, so I guess that doesn't matter. But it's
weird. Killing Joke both is and isn't canon. Of like her being paralyzed is canon, but Joker's origin isn't. It's weird.
Yeah. It's so, and then the ending is so vague that it's like, yeah, he actually killed Joker, but it's like that doesn't That's not canon either, so it's weird. But I wouldn't be surprised if Barbara Gordon is there, but as Oracle, especially during that time frame. If we're going with the Brave and the Bold, to my knowledge, I think she is in that comic. She is the she's Oracle at that point, which I don't hate. I don't hate that idea at all. I honestly liked Barbara Gordon as Oracle a lot better anyway. But then again, that's just, I think that's my bias coming out because I just like the look of the Cassandra Cain Batgirl suit a whole lot better.
Yeah, that's because it looks suspiciously like the Batman Beyond suit, just
I mean,
yellow on the front instead of red. What I could also see happening is if we're trying to expand this world out quickly is, and James Gunn has said that he's taking inspiration from the animated universes, is follow the storyline progression of Damian that happened in the animated movies.
Yes,
he's a miserable little brat, but over the movies, he had a really good arc that by the time you get to Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, he's honestly one of the standout characters in a movie that had a lot of standout characters. But I think at the end of Brave and the Bold, what you could easily do is Batman realizes, okay, this kid has been trained a very specific way for a long amount of time. I can only do so much. He needs to be around kids his own age. And just like in the animated movies, he sends them off to train with the Teen Titans. Not Titans, because that could be Nightwing and the rest of the group. There's always the adult version, like a Teen Titans or a Young Justice. And I could fully see that being something that James Gunn announces for the latter half of Chapter 1 or Chapter 2, whenever that comes to fruition. I feel better now about a Teen Titans or Young Justice project happening than ever before. But Damian has a very strong presence within the Teen Titans in the comics currently. So I could absolutely see that being the next appearance of Damian coming out of Brave and the Bold, depending on what the story direction is that they want to take him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the interesting thing is that I think James is more okay with picking and choosing comics as opposed to being like, all right, cool, we're just going to do a straight, shot to shot adaptation of the Batman Returns. Like, yeah, okay, that's cool, but that's like also not as interesting.
There is other comics besides Frank Miller stuff.
Correct. So I think if anything, James is really good about, because he's into the niche stuff, he has more of a wider variety and wider range of stories to choose from, as opposed to just being like, my name's Zack Snyder and I only read Frank Miller comics and that's what I'm going to go with. But yeah, I'm excited. It'll be cool. The idea that the Batfamily is going to finally be on screen I love it. I love it already.
So transitioning now from DC to just, honestly, one of the stupidest things I have heard in a long time, and it's very rare that you see the internet unite on anything. The internet united on this stupid piece of garbage from AMC. What are we talking about this time? Because AMC has a track record of stupidity. AMC has decided, you know what? We're really not making as much money as we should, and the theaters aren't really bringing in people like they should, at least not for us. So what we're going to do is, depending on where you sit within our theater, is how much you're going to pay. So, like, you'll pay less if you sit in the like, hurt your neck looking up at the screen and you're like the first 2 rows, you'll actually pay less. But if you want, like, prime middle seats, you'll have to pay more. And if you want the just awkward aisle seats, nothing happens to the price there. Y'all, this is such a stupid idea. Like, I can't even fathom. In a world where AMC consistently, under current management, has made dumb choice after dumb choice after dumb choice. Like, AMC is the one that made that partnership with Universal. Be like, yeah, let's shrink the theatrical window to 45 days. That's not going to shoot us in the foot at all. I don't understand this at all. There's a lot of angles to come at this from, of some people like, well, you pay different price points for like a sporting event or a concert. I'm going, yeah, because those are much larger venues and you're physically moving closer or further away from a given thing. I'm going to a concert in April. I got a really decent price, but I'm like in the inner, like, lower bowl. I don't have floor seats because I'm not physically closer to the performer that we're seeing. Like, you pay more because you're actually closer, not to a screen, but physically closer to the action. As much as I like being in the middle of a movie theater, I have been on the end, and tell you what, it doesn't make a difference if you're on the end versus if you're in the middle. Theaters hold what? 100, 200? If you're in a mega theater, you can hold 300 or 400.
Yeah.
That is tiny compared to a sporting event or a concert that can hold tens of thousands. That makes sense to me why you would charge different prices. This is stupid with 2 O's, in the words of Ransom from Knives Out. This is I can't even fathom. This is just beyond stupid.
I at first was very much like, oh, you mean to tell me that we can, go to the lower seats and have, in my mind, I can pay $5. I mean, I might be a little uncomfortable, but if I'm okay with that, I can see a movie for less. Cool. I have that kind of luxury. But yeah, like the more and more I think about it, the more and more I hate it. If there's like, let's say 100 seats in a theater, about 30 of those are absolutely useless. About 30 of those are incredibly uncomfortable to sit in and actually affect your movie going experience. I'm going to bring it up because I tweeted it, but I think it honestly hits. It's the one discourse I've seen on this topic that I think hits home the most. Elijah Wood tweeted out that the movie theater is and always has been a sacred democratic space for all, and this new initiative by AMC Theaters would essentially penalize people for lower income and reward for higher income. I cannot the more and more you look at it, that's what makes sense. I mean, it's the biggest issue of like, okay, cool. So, before the pandemic, movie theater tickets were like what, $10 for like a regular like evening showing. Now they're 15. And then that's if you don't go to something new, and then it's like, okay, cool, $20. It's like, I don't know if that kind of sucks, but okay. They, to the point that most theaters do the $5 matinees or discounted matinees now. And that's the $10. And okay, that's cool. I understand in a way that how someone could view going to a movie theater as a quote unquote luxury spending item. That's not necessarily something that is, essential for life. But I think it's so ingrained in our culture and our society how important movies are. And for those people that don't watch a whole lot of movies or whatever, first of all, what are you doing listening to this podcast? I mean, I appreciate it, but
we appreciate the support. Don't go away.
Yeah. But like for those that don't watch a lot of movies, this won't matter to them at all. But to me, I think at this point, going to a movie theater to see a film is just as important these days as the, let's say, ability to go out and eat at a restaurant. I think is it a more of a luxury than an essential? Yeah, but I think it is at this point a pivotal marker in our society, and to sit there and go, cool, so you either uncomfortable and get to pay $10, or you are comfortable and have to pay $20 to $25. Like, that just, to me, that doesn't make sense.
Also, like, it's that rationale of like, when it comes to the fall and the winter time, I will have like a day or two off during the middle of the week, and that's when I like to go to the movies, is because there's no one there. Are you telling me that a showing at 11:30 on a Wednesday in the middle of October, that's going to be so packed that you need to do this? And from everything we heard, they're doing it for all the theaters. I'm like, if this was like an opening high ticket, like an Ant-Man or a Spider-Man type of thing, it would still be stupid with 2 O's again. But I would at least understand that they're trying to milk you for extra money. To do it for all showings across the board, just go like that, just no. Because I've been in plenty of showings where I'm one of like 5 people in the theater, or heaven forbid, I'm the only one in the theater. Like when I saw The Lighthouse, why would I pay extra for that when I'm literally the only one in that theater? And again,
Yeah.
right now it's just AMC because AMC continues to shoot themselves in the foot like their name is Plaxico Burress. But at least other theaters have not adopted this yet. When I saw this, I was just like, once again, I'm happy I stick with my local Cinemark. I enjoy my Cinemark. They've improved. And I was talking to my dad about this, and he brought up a great point he said AMC is drastically overestimating the downfall of Regal. I think they're expecting, well, if Regal's going to be gone and they file for bankruptcy, people are going to have one less option, so they might as well just come to us. I'm going, that's not how this is going to work here, dude.
Yeah.
If people don't like your policies, they will just wait and see movies at home, and that's the last thing y'all want right now. This is beyond stupid to me. I do not see this lasting very long.
No, I agree, because I think it's easy to sit here and consider, like, when AMC raised prices on all their snacks and stuff, what was our response as moviegoers? Cool, I'm smuggling them in my purse or whatever. It just doesn't make sense. Like, we're going to respond to it. Like, could you imagine, like, say you're the only person who's got a ticket to, like in your case, to see The Lighthouse. All right, cool. So if I have to sit, my ticket is to go to the front of the theater and see it, and I get to see it for $10 or $5 or whatever. But I'm the only one. Well, unless you've got people that are going to like go check seats and check people's tickets, which means hiring more people, which is not something AMC is going to do. What's like, if you're the only one there, like, of course, yeah, I'm going to buy the $5 ticket, go to the center of the theater. Why wouldn't I do that? Are you kidding me? Yeah. So I don't know. We'll I guess we'll see what happens. But if they are serious about this, it's going to shoot them in the foot harder than when Netflix was like, yeah, password stuff.
Yeah. Oh no, that was an error. We didn't mean to send that out.
We didn't mean to do that.
Lastly, for our news this week, you get a triple header of news. And by that, I mean all these things are things we think are interesting and we want to talk about, but none of them are necessarily strong enough on their own to be a news topic. So we're all just kind of lumping them into a horror corner because it's February now. So it's horror. We've moved past Christmas. We're now in a spoopy season until next Christmas. But we have 3 relatively interesting news topics. 2 of them are completely out of nowhere, and one of them was going, oh yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing is they've begun filming on A Quiet Place Day 1, which is a prequel, naturally, to the first A Quiet Place, and kind of establishing what exactly happened to the world to make it all Quiet Placey. We got a little bit of that in a flashback scene in A Quiet Place Part 2, but by and large, that is not really something that's been touched so far. And while I didn't like the second A Quiet Place nearly as much as I liked the first one truly just was magic, I still think there's a lot of storytelling possibilities you can go with A Quiet Place, and I'm very much excited. And that, on top of the fact that the guy that's directing Day 1 is the guy that most recently directed Nicolas Cage in Pig. Yes, the tone and the vibe of Pig is very much somber and gritty, and I can absolutely see that translating incredibly well to A Quiet Place. On top of that, you have, I believe Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things is in it. Lupita Nyong'o is in it. So, great cast. I'm immediately on board with this. Not the project that I was most excited for today. I'll be honest.
Which is not surprising to me, because I've known you as long as I have.
I don't know why, but I really like the I Know What You Did Last Summer franchise. And I to be fair, I don't know why. They're not particularly good. But something about when you tell me Kevin Williamson is writing a slasher movie, it's going to be 90s, and I'm going to like it. Because he did Scream, he did H2O, he did The Faculty, he did I Know What You Did Last Summer, also Dawson's Creek, which does not surprise me. But apparently we're getting a new I Know What You Did Last Summer. I know some people are going, did we just get one? Yeah, it was an Amazon series, and I feel like that was supposed to be a movie, and then that broke down, became a TV show. It got canceled after a season. Here's why it makes a big difference this time around. They're bringing back Jennifer Love Hewitt and the world's most beautiful wrestling fan, Freddie Prinze Jr., and that alone makes me super excited. The movie could be garbage, but I don't care because you get Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. back. I'm just more excited because I'm a huge fan of Freddie Prinze Jr., but to see him slowly but surely coming back into movies just gets me really, really happy and excited. Granted, he could totally be doing this just to add more money to the I'm starting my wrestling federation fund that he's got starting up, but I'd like to think that maybe he just wants to make sure that he doesn't... All the bad mouthing that he said about the first movie when the director literally tried to kill him, maybe he wants a better experience this time around. Jennifer Love Hewitt, she's still been active on the television circuit. Cool to see her back. Naturally, you can't bring anybody else back from those other movies. I wonder why. I'm super down for this. I don't even care. And lastly, this is a very, very close second in terms of anticipation of excitedness for me. But this was I had to double, triple check this was coming from reliable sources because I did not believe this in the slightest. And that is that The Backrooms, a super popular YouTube like short series, like a whole bunch of people have like created their own versions of it, whatnot. Basically a creepypasta, is getting turned into a movie by A24. Hell yes. Like, okay, if you don't know what The Backrooms is, your favorite YouTuber probably has a reaction video to it. That's how most people kind of discovered it. Like, whether you're watching Markiplier watch it or Jacksepticeye watch it, someone has done a reaction video to it. But it's genuinely creative and interesting and creepy. This analogy is going to sound weird, but it's like the Blair Witch in that you get lost and disoriented very, very quickly, except instead of being outside, it's a never-ending office that looks creepily familiar, but foreign at the same time. Of the three news topics here, what's your most excited for all three of these, Josh, and what are your just general thoughts about these horror topics today?
So I have not seen the second Quiet Place. It's something on the list I need to watch. Just to say that I watched it. So I have no real bearing on Quiet Place day one. Sure, why not? I think John's still involved with it, so I have no issue with it. Let's go for it. I am not like you. I thought that I Know What You Did Last Summer is absolute 90s horror schlock.
And that's probably why I like it. 90s horror is stupid. Honestly, it's dumb.
Given your taste in horror, it doesn't really surprise me at all.
No.
But yeah, it's, you know what? It's an intriguing concept, especially if they were to bring it to like a more modern time. Yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah, bring Freddie Prinze Jr. out. Get him warmed up acting wise, so when he has to do a what is it? A flashback in Ahsoka, that he's ready to go to be Kanan. A live action Kanan. Let's go. That's really the only reason I want Freddie to act more. I love the idea of turning the Backrooms into a movie. I trust A24. They're fantastic. I was honestly like, it was a couple days ago, actually. I went to their website just to kind of, I was like, I wonder, it feels like they don't put out a lot of movies. Like they put out a decent amount, but they don't put out a lot. And you have access to see like a bunch of stuff on their website. Gosh, some of my favorite movies of the last 10, 20 years has been A24 movies. It was something I hadn't really thought of before. And so the more and more I kind of look into them, yes, some of them are hits. Some of them are very near misses. But none, I don't think I've ever watched an A24 movie and been like, yeah, that was awful. Didn't like that. They're always like, no, that was fine, I guess. And two, fantastic. That being said, Backrooms is going to be a challenge. It is super terrifying. Um, just the idea of like you as a person can just clip through a wall and all of a sudden you're in this alternate dimension. That's horrifying. It will be interesting to see what all of the lore they do include, because games have come out. The more shorts, more kinds of Backrooms have been made since the original short. It will be very intriguing to see what they do. I can see it being somewhere in between like a Chronicle and Blair Witch, the new one. Just like the idea, like I'm in my head, I have, excuse me, that last like 15 minutes of Blair Witch, but like in the back rooms, and I'm scared. I'm good. Thank you though. I'll watch it in the safety of my home and not like screaming like a child in the middle of a theater.
Maybe change up the creature's design a little bit.
Maybe, but like at the same time, that's at least in the context of the short and in the games, that is the creature's design is what's scary. It's not like that. I know that doesn't belong here. Why is that coming after me? We'll see what happens. Obviously, the thing that I would be concerned about is I think the creature design, because it'd be very, very easy to just turn it into like this
discount Slender Man.
A discount Slender Man, or maybe they change it completely and it's just like this like multi-dimension cat thing that like stalks them. I can just see it being very easy to turn into something like that, but we'll see what happens, I guess.
As per usual, before we get into our main discussion, this week's episode is sponsored by TeePublic, your one-stop shop for all things Uncharted Media merch, whether it is t-shirts with the Uncharted Media logo, tinfoil hat theory shirts, mugs, hoodies, whatever you want with the Uncharted Media logo on it. Go there, support the show, and if you haven't already, share us with fellow movie fans that you think might be interested in the show. Share us on Facebook. Check us out on whatever audio platform you're listening to us on, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or YouTube. Help us get to 800 subscribers. That's the next milestone before we get to 1,000 subscribers. Let's eat this elephant in chunks. Let's get to 800 first, then 850, then 900. That's how math works.
It is, yeah.
But now for our discussion. 2 weeks ago, we talked about the 90s. Now, we talk about the 2000s. And boy, looking back on the list of movies that we're going to talk about today, I can definitively tell you I looked at this list and goes, oh yeah, some of these are very 90s, 2000s movies indeed. Like, just going,
yeah.
I didn't think 2000s had a style, but yet, just 2000s movies in general. Without tipping our hand too much, because it doesn't dominate too much, but I think 2000s is when I really start to notice the rise of the franchise. Like, it was big in the 80s with like Halloween and Friday the 13th, but there's a lot more franchising in the 2000s with like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, X-Men, Spider-Man,
Spy Kids.
Spy Kids had such a fast turnaround consistently that I'm like, oh, so Robert Rodriguez doesn't believe in sleep at all, apparently.
He edits everything in his garage.
I mean,
but yeah, I would agree. The rise of I think Studio Ghibli really started to get really, really big in the 2000s. Rise of the franchise. I think there's some of the best sports movies ever made are in the 2000s. Some of the like. It was very, very hard. I think the thing that is very obvious to me, at least, is that now in like the 90s, you have like a very specific kind of genre that are putting out really, really good movies. Whereas in the 2000s, we start to go, I think directors and producers and writers realized they could make anything a good movie and make anything incredible. Because this definitely gets to the point where it's like, it gets really hard just to pick one movie that's the best out of all of them, whether that be just because everything's pretty good and not great, or whether that be because you have a bunch of really great movies. So we'll see what happens. I'm really curious to see what you end up picking, but like, it's very, very interesting to see like how different I mean it's easily to say, it's sort of like, yeah, well, yeah, the movies in the 2000s are going to be different than the 90s, but like the level of difference, I think, is something that I don't think I had previously thought about or really understood. Yeah, so I'm really curious to see where we go with all this, but yeah, I'm pretty excited. I think it'll be difficult too for us to not for us to remove the nostalgia goggles and not be like, well, this is the best movie of that time because of that year, because I love that movie. Because there's a lot of movies in this year, this decade, that I love.
Yeah, again, being early 90s kids, the 2000s were very much of movies that we watch on repeat were these type of movies.
Yeah.
So we have to really, we're trying to make sure we reinforce the distinction: best, not favorite. Like, what is the best made movies? And sometimes they just happen to coincide. Also, as I'm looking over the list, some years were super easy for me right off the bat to know what the movie was. Like 2007 and 2008, I didn't have to think for more than 2 seconds about what they were going to be. But then other years, like 2002 or 2004, you get a lot of really great movies, but I don't know if there's one necessarily that I go, you're the best made movie, or just all around excellence. There's just a lot of movies that I really, really enjoy or are my favorites. So that's where it made it a little difficult. But same thing as we did last time with the 90s. We'll say all the movies of note that we think for a specific year. We will exclude what our final pick is, and then we'll kind of say what that is. So for the 2000s, also we tried to keep it to movies that we have seen. So if I don't say it or Josh doesn't say it, it's safe to assume either we're stupid or we just haven't seen that movie. Because there's certain ones that I'm like, I know that's supposedly a classic, I just haven't seen it. But kicking us off for the 2000s, you got movies like the original Final Destination, the underrated animated classic Road to El Dorado, which is way more adult than I remembered as a kid. That movie,
Yeah.
Oh boy, that had kids' toys at Burger King and everything. It probably shouldn't have. American Psycho almost got my top spot, but it did not. Dinosaur, I have fond memories of seeing that with my dad and uncle at a place called Funscape. Dinosaur, I loved it at the time, but looking back on it now, I understand why it bombed, because there is no story whatsoever, and it was a little too ahead of its time. Say what you will about the rest of the movies, but the first Scary Movie is still funny to me.
Dude, it's still hilarious.
I still love the first Scary Movie. And then last up for my honorable mentions, the original X-Men movie. Granted, it doesn't hold up as well by today's superhero standards, but you got to think of what the comic book landscape was in the 2000s at the time, and also try and forget who directed this movie, because yikes. Josh, did I miss any?
Yeah. I mean, Gladiator, the Patriot. I mean, it's not necessarily the best, but like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Chicken Run, Castaway, Emperor's New Groove, Pitch Black.
Well, you know my thoughts on Emperor's New Groove, and Pitch Black is a movie with Vin Diesel.
It's fun. It
is a 2000s movie.
Yeah. Also, one of the best Batman movies ever made, Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker.
Not theatrically released.
Yeah.
Mask of the Phantasm cheats the system every time.
But also like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? It came out that year as well, and is a fantastic movie. But Memento, Snatch, Requiem of a Dream, like 2000 had some bangers, man.
So then, what was your top movie of 2000 then?
I think for me, and I tried really, really hard when looking at the list of movies that that came out in the 2000. I tried really, really hard to make sure that I wasn't coming at this from a nostalgia standpoint. But I think the filmmaking is incredible. You have a bunch of very young actors who a good chunk of them come to be later very well-known household names. Absolutely killer cast, killer cinematography, killer story. I just think Remember the Titans is the best movie of 2000.
Really? Wow, yes. I did not see that coming.
It's super good. It's one of the best football movies ever made.
That's saying something. I will still say baseball produces the best movies per sport, but a close
I agree.
second is probably football. Like, Remember the Titans, Invincible. Um, say what you will about Christian movies, most of them are garbage. Facing the Giants is still pretty decent for.
Yeah, it's not bad. Not bad at all.
But football produces great movies. You actually mentioned mine. You thought I ignored it, but no, I was just saving it for my top spot. Russell Crowe's Gladiator.
Yeah. Okay.
In recent years, Ridley Scott has been very spotty. Martian is great. I'm sorry once again, Michael. But then The Counselor. No one remembers The Counselor. Alien Covenant. Yeah, that's a movie. But 2000, that's got to be one of the height of Ridley Scott's prowess. It's just, you still have dude bros going at parties saying, "Are you not entertained?" Like that's a common vernacular now. Russell Crowe, also, like Ridley Scott, is a bit hit or miss. This was the peak of his talents. He's just perfect. Also, honorable mention to Richard Harris as in the beginning. I just really like Richard Harris, and I wish we could have gotten more of him in the Harry Potter universe because I loved his Dumbledore, but I really liked his performance in Gladiator. It's Gladiator. To me, this was one of the easier years to pick from. Requiem for a Dream is definitely it's a thing. I think that one, Requiem for a Dream, it's a very well made movie, but it very much is. It's not for everyone. Yeah, it's not a rewatchability movie.
Well, Gladiator has Walking Phoenix is in that one as well.
Yes.
Yeah,
before it went crazy.
Dude, poor guy.
And also some of the best CG ever because they had to film those extra scenes with the guy that passed away halfway through filming. I'm just going, wow, that's incredible for 2000 especially.
Yeah, especially.
Getting to 2001. There's a lot of really, really great, but it was hard for me to pick one above everything else, actually, because there's a lot of nostalgia berries here to pick from off the vine. You get stuff like Spy Kids, Shrek. Underrated comedy here. Evolution, starring David Duchovny.
Dude, yeah.
I freaking love Evolution so much. Atlantis, The Lost Empire. One of Josh and I's favorite horror movies before we figured out stuff about its creation, Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah,
I wish I could go back and rewatch this, but I can't. Training Day, Zoolander, Monsters, Inc., Fellowship of the Ring, and Ocean's 11, all just in 1 year. It's so interesting seeing, like, so many starting franchise movies all in 2001. The first Spy Kids, the first Shrek, the first Lord of the Rings, the first Oceans. Like, good year to start your franchise with a year that ends in 1. What else? Yeah. What else did I miss here, Josh?
I mean, The Mummy Return. I mean, it's not as good as the first one, but
stupid kid.
Super Troopers, easily one of my favorite comedies. Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, like the movie that is way more entertaining than the show. I love the show.
The show is better than the movie. The show is so good. The show is great.
The show is hit and miss. I love the show, but it is very hit and miss.
Oh, yeah, but when it hits, it's so good. Fair. Still to this day, you know exactly what comes next after I say slap, slap, slap.
I hate you.
You know what's next. We all wanted to be Bulby. Bulby was the best.
But like, like, we go on a whole Jimmy Neutron rabbit trail. But like Osmosis Jones, I have for some reason fond memories of that movie. A Knight's Tale. Oh, let's go. I didn't discover this movie till later, but Spirited Away is incredible.
DreamWorks really flexing its muscle in 2021.
Yes. The Fast and the Furious came out that year too. So yeah, like the Princess Diaries. Oh my gosh, the Princess Diaries. Let's go.
Your level of excitement for the Princess Diaries is so wholesome right now.
I cannot like. I can't describe how much I love the first Princess Diaries. I like the second one. It's good.
It's fine.
It's a thing. But like the first Princess Diaries is so stinking good. It's dude. I'm a grown man, dude. I have no qualms with loving like with certain rom-coms, man. I
And all of
love me some
us,
Princess.
and all of us still to this day love Anne Hathaway. And if you don't, you're a hater. Anne Hathaway's just a fantastic person, and Princess
She's
Diaries is where it
fantastic,
started.
absolutely. So did you end up? I think if I'm going down in my head of thinking which ones you said and which ones you didn't. I think I know what you're going to go ahead and lean on as far as your number one that year.
Okay, I'm sure you can guess it, but let's also see if we can guess my rationale for it. So what do you think it is?
So I'm pretty sure it's Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
It is.
Because you didn't mention it, so obviously. I think your rationale there is, to me, it's the one of the weaker ones of the series, but that's also probably because I didn't grow up with the series. I didn't grow up with the books or the movies. But I can see that having a way more, I don't want to say nostalgia, but having that movie probably had more impact on you as a kid than probably most of the movies that came out that year.
Wow, you just really overthought it more than anything. I just didn't want to put two Lord of the Rings movies on a top 10.
Fair.
That's honestly what it is. It'd be like, well,
that's fair.
I love Fellowship a lot, but I got another movie down the road that is like untouchable, but also like,
Yeah.
I tried to like balance the scales a little bit here. Like, spoiler alert, Batman Begins did not win for 2005, even though I think it's definitely in the running. Because then then I would have had two Batman movies on my top 10. Like, I tried to balance it out a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Sorcerer's Stone, I think it is one of the better Harry Potter movies in terms of adapting the source material. And I think that's because at that point in time, it was still manageable to do so because Sorcerer's Stone is not that long of a book to have to adapt. I think both the not Alfonso Cuarón, he did the third one. I think both the Christopher Columbus ones established the world so perfectly. I will say though, even as a kid, they never once felt long to me. And growing up, as I get older, I realize they're like 2.5 hours, 2 hours 40. But they never once felt like it to me, and I think that has to be a testament to how well they are paced and how well they're cast.
I'll agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
I think, honestly, just looking at Harry Potter top to bottom, I don't know if anybody's miscast. Like, I know some people will be like, well, they're not accurate to the book. For the purposes of the movie and what the movie requires of them, I'm trying to think, and I don't think anybody's miscast in Harry Potter. I think everyone fits so perfectly. And I think that was set up originally with Sorcerer's Stone that laid the groundwork in a really positive way.
Yes.
Again, I like Fellowship of the Ring, but I try not to double dip as much as I could. So, is that why Fellowship is your top movie?
I gotta say Fellowship, just because like I'm not as big on Sorcerer's Stone. I love Ocean's 11. I think it's incredible. It's one of the most rewatchable movies I think of the year, outside of like Shrek or Princess Diaries. And I like the first Spy Kids, but probably not as much as the second one. Which
second one has that great line about questioning God.
God, like Steve Buscemi, chill out, dog. But it's got to be Fellowship.
That line wasn't even in the script. It was just Steve Buscemi going rogue,
which is like the most like that. Those things happen all the time in Robert Rodriguez movies, and I love it. But it's got to be Fellowship. I think it's the perfect way to start the series. It's incredible. I personally think that there's a whole discussion to be had about the extended editions versus the theatrical cut.
Extended.
I mean, I agree because I grew up on the extended, but
we like it extended editions.
Yes, we do. But like the Cinema Wins videos on them, definitely makes a good argument that, the theatrical, like I think it's really easy to sit here as people that like only watch the extended editions to make it come off like the theatrical cuts are bad, because that is not the case. They are still fantastic films. Just prefer the extra hour or whatever. But yeah, it's got to be Fellowship for 2001.
Now, we get to our first absolutely mobbed year of 2002. In the words of Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, banger after banger after banger after banger. Holy crap, 2002 was a great year. And no, we're not going to be mentioning the Star Wars movie that came out this year. No.
What? Why not?
Even as a diehard Star Wars fan, let's be honest, Attack of the Clones is probably the worst in the franchise. Yeah, I said it.
To be fair, even with a lot of like the prequel defending to these days, I like the movies. They're bottom level good. Like they're good. I'd say they're good.
Not a lot of people defend Attack of the Clones either. Even those like prequel defenders, like you and I and generation that grew up on them, were like Revenge of the Sith and the other two movies. I still say Phantom Menace is the best of all the three. But I know I'm very much in the minority in that, but Attack of the Clones is a movie that exists. But for the good things that came out in 2002, Count of Monte Cristo, Josh is going to be surprised that this is on my list. A Walk to Remember. Yes, I like A Walk to Remember. It's sappy and it's discount Hallmark, but I enjoy it.
It's one of the few Nicholas Sparks movies I actually enjoy, yeah.
Yeah.
I have like a handful of them that I like, but...
And then the best Frankie Muniz performance of all time, Big Fat Liar. I freaking love Big Fat Liar so much. The Rookie.
Dude,
it's a lot slower of a movie than I remember as a kid. It's a very slow movie. One of my favorite rom-coms of all time, not named 10 Things I Hate About You, My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I love My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Yeah. Another movie.
Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, The Bourne Identity, James Gunn. Once again, we're going to talk about him. James Gunn written Scooby-Doo. Honestly, and I mean this with full sincerity, when we do the podcast talking about the best casted movies of all time, Scooby-Doo has to be at the top of the list or near the top. Because say what you want about the quality of the movie, everyone is perfect. And also people are like, well, Freddie Prinze Jr. was overacting and monotone. I'm going... For what the movie is supposed to be, in which case it's a satire of Scooby-Doo, he fits perfectly. He understands the assignment. Also, Matthew Lillard as Shaggy is literally a godsend to the point that they knew they could not have him ever again. So he's been doing the voice for the past 20 years because he's so good at it.
Dude.
You get Tom Cruise's Minority Report, 8 Mile, Chamber of Secrets, Treasure Planet. I'm sorry, Josh, is not my top. Drumline.
I completely understand that this year is really, really tough.
Drumline, which is also a banger. And then lastly, for my honorable mentions, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Holy crap, 2002 was a good year.
Okay, I see you.
But for a different rationale this time.
Yeah. But yeah, like... this year has a lot of movies that like were very culturally significant too, like 8 Mile, or like for me, Kung Pao and Equilibrium. Come on, Spy Kids 2, Ice Age. Just like The Ring, Signs. Like they're not. I will never say that Signs is a good movie, but like but like I can't. It was everywhere. Like M. Night Shyamalan stuff was everywhere at that time. And like The Ring, the movies like The Ring and The Grudge were like terrifying at the time. Yeah, there's a movie that, well, geez, then if you're not, are you doing Chamber of Secrets? You can't. There's
no
way.
What's your top movie first?
Oh, Two Towers. Two Towers to me. I like Return, but Two Towers I think is my favorite Star Wars movie. Star Wars, Lord of the Rings movie up till now. We'll see what happens.
I love all of the Lord of the Rings movie, and for me, I think they get just progressively better and better. So
I agree.
Naturally, we'll talk about it when we get to 2003. But no, I think this movie also flew under your radar. It flew under way too many people's radar. I'll go down on record saying, of all the movies that came out in 2003. This movie has aged especially better than the rest. Robin Williams' 1 hour photo.
Oh yeah, that's 2002.
Yup.
Wow. Okay. Cool. Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of people that have seen that. So
I
like,
know.
yes, and it's not on anyone's like top list for the year, but like, yeah, absolutely.
So honestly, guys, for 2002, it is scary, uncomfortable how well 1 hour photo has aged in this era of social media. Of this dude literally has pictures of someone else's family on his wall, like a Facebook wall. It's creepy, but also it's Robin Williams at his most subdued and terrifying. Like there's no big comedic explosion or like big
I mean, there is
like
a explosion.
Jim Carrey like facial contortions. It's him being very monotone and flat and dull for most of the performance, and that's what makes it work so well. I think it's a brilliant thriller. It's acted well. It's aged so uncomfortably well, and also for not being a horror movie, has one of the most crap your pants inducing moments I have ever seen in a movie. I'm just going, oh, that's a big old nope from me, dog. I just really wish more people had seen 1 hour photo. It's so good, and honestly, it's probably one of Robin Williams' best performance. Again, I could just put all of Lord of the Rings from 01 to 03 here. I want to get some variety. I think 1 hour photo is probably one of the best movies of 2002.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'd say Two Towers because I have to say Two Towers. I can't not talk about Two Towers. Chamber of Secrets is pretty good.
It's probably the weakest of all the Harry Potter movies, not called 7. Deathly Hallows.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Deathly Hallows is...
I love. We'll talk about it when we get there with Order of the Phoenix, but like Chamber of the Secrets, I think it's definitely the weakest, quote unquote. Even though it's also one of the most intriguing ones as well, story wise. So I'm always up in the air about it.
And I'm kind of wondering if, because it was just kind of, it was fine, but not as good as it could have been. I wonder if that's kind of why Christopher Columbus stepped away after this one, and we got Alfonso Cuarón coming in, drastically changing up the style for Prisoner of Azkaban. But maybe he just wanted to do something else. I don't know. Moving on to 2003, we've get movies like Hole. So these movies are celebrating their 20th anniversary this year. Holes, or as I like to call it, the Children's Shawshank Redemption.
So good.
I'm determined I'm getting that video out this year. X2, X2, X-Men United. Finding Nemo, still, I think, one of the best Pixar movies ever made.
Agreed.
Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, back when that franchise meant something. One of Jack Black's best performances, School of Rock. One of Will Ferrell's best performances in Elf. And one of Jamie Lee Curtis's best performances in Freaky Friday. And I mean that with full sincerity. She is so good in that. She's having so much fun. I thoroughly enjoy Freaky Friday. It's dumb fun, and I love it.
Yep. And I mean, like, I could bring up, like, The Last Samurai or Tears of the Sun or Old Boy, but, like, or Kill Bill Volume 1, just because of the cultural significance, I think. But, like, I think these are, I just because of the sequence of events, I know what you're going to pick in this year.
And I know what you're going to pick, too.
Well, I think I'm going to go with Finding Nemo. Just because I've already picked Two Towers.
My Sorcerer's Stone logic here.
Yeah, like I can't and at the end of the day, I personally I like Two Towers more than Return of the King. But it's also a very, very, very thin margin. We're having to fudge a lot of loyalties in this list just so that we're not talking about the same franchise every year.
Yeah, but mine naturally will be Return of the King. Return of the King is like on my Mount Rushmore of favorite movies ever. And I know we said this is a best, not favorites list, but also take the favorites out of it from a pure technical standpoint. the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy is a massive accomplishment, top to bottom, visual effects, acting, just general storytelling, production design. And I think that peaked with Return of the King. It just kept building and building and building. Like, yes, the Helm's Deep battle is fantastic, one of the greatest battles of all time in Two Towers. But the Battle of Pelennor Fields, when the riders of Rohan come in and the sun is rising, you're just going, oh, we're going to war, boys. And it's glorious. It's a red day. Oh, it's beautiful. But it also has one of my favorite scenes in movie history, and it has nothing to do with Battle of Pelennor Fields. It's Lord of the Rings is all about characters and getting you to love them. And Return of the King has a beautiful character moment of it's Pippin and Gandalf, the person that Gandalf has been chastising for basically the entire trilogy. They're together, and Pippin says, I never thought it would end this way. End? Oh, the journey doesn't end here. Death is just another path, one that we all must take. The gray rain curtain of this world rolls back, and it all turns to silver glass, and then you see it. See what, Gandalf? White shores into a swift sunrise. That doesn't sound so bad. No, it isn't. And you're just like, this is in the middle of a big epic fight with ogres and trolls. Oh my. And you got me tearing up with beautiful glass seas, and it's beautiful.
I have always preface this. I love Return of the King. I love that speech. I love everything about it. I have just always thought it was funny how Gandalf is telling Mary this and is like, Gandalf, you've died already. What are you? Like, of course you know what
but
it's
Gandalf
like
is also a wizard who can come back. It's like, nah, you're just gonna be dead, Hobbit.
It's like, well, yeah, of course you have this perspective, Gandalf. Like, yeah, it's not the end. Well, yeah, because you died already and came back. Like,
but even put that aside, you get one of the best character developments of all time. I've just never thought I'd die fighting side by side with an elf. What about dying side by side with a friend? I can do that. You're like, yeah, you can. Bromance for life. Return of the King is just, there's a reason why it won so many awards that year. It's just so good. Honestly, if there wasn't one other big movie that comes later in the decade, I'd probably say Return of the King is the best movie of the decade.
That's fair. Yeah.
It's just, like I said, it's on my Mount Rushmore of just one of the best movies I have ever seen. Now, getting into 2004, like 2002, this is a loaded year. Like,
yeah.
But it was loaded to the point of there's a lot of great, but it was hard to find one thing that stood head and shoulders above everything else. So you get movies like Passion of the Christ, Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, which honestly is probably his best movie besides Zack Snyder's Justice League. I really like his Dawn of the Dead. Hellboy, Shaun of the Dead, another one of my favorite rom-coms, and Heather's favorite movie of all time, so it had to be on here somewhere. 13 going on 30.
Okay, yeah.
The rest of the world going, so that's what Andy Serkis looks like in real life. Shrek 2, one of the best animated sequels of all time. Prisoner of Azkaban, a major step up in quality for Harry Potter. Dodgeball, one of Heather's favorite comedies of all time. Anchorman, one of the most quoted comedies of all time. Born Supremacy, The Incredibles, one of the greatest treasure hunting movies of all time. National Treasure, expose the world to the national treasure that is Nicolas Cage. Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. And a late addition to the list, I completely forgot that this movie came out this year. Miracle. Really good movie. Like Miracle.
Dude, one of the best sports movies of all time.
Who do you play for?
Dude, love it. Yeah, Incredibles. The Machinist came out this year, which was like, I guess in retrospect is one of those a huge movie, terrifying, incredibly thrilling.
And the fact that it comes out a year before Christian Bale's next performance, where
which is that's I think yeah. Spider-Man 2, Mean Girls, 51st Dates, which is one of my favorites.
really.
One of my favorite rom-coms. I don't know why I enjoy it so much. It's really funny thinking about it now how much crap I talk about Adam Sandler, but like I actually end up liking a good chunk of his movies despite me talking all that crap. The first Saw movie comes out that year. I, Robot comes out that year. Like it's like it is a banger year. One of my favorites. It's not my number one, but like Kung Fu Hustle or Finding Neverland comes out that year. I 2004 was such a good year. Like, gosh dang. Like, I think every year going forward has banger after banger. It's kind of crazy, actually.
So before I say my top movie for 2004, I just have to say one of the most 2000 sentences of all time. It'll almost be like a secret code to only a very specific generation. But you brought up iRobot. I remember in junior high, one of my classmates had iRobot on his Zune, which... If that's not a 2000 sentence, I don't know what.
Zunes were wild.
Zunes were like, better than iPod.
They were. They just couldn't take off because iPod had such a big mass appeal on him.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. That was National Treasures fan. The series of unfortunate events with Jim Carrey is pretty good. To me, I enjoyed it.
See, I read the books. I was like, you just blew through the first 3 books.
Fair enough.
Just went through the first 3 books.
Thomas Jane's Punishers.
Not bad. Not bad.
2004. Yeah, one of the best Punisher performances we'd have until the show.
Which that reminds me. Did you ever see Punisher Dirty Laundry? That YouTube short that he did. Yeah, look it up. He did a.
I think I have.
How Nathan Fillion did that Uncharted short film. Patrick Jane was also in a Punisher short film called Dirty Laundry, and I'm going, oh yes.
And easily one of my favorite of the Riddick series, The Chronicles of Riddick, comes out that year. I have a soft spot for early Vin Diesel. I don't know why.
Back when he had hair?
He doesn't have hair. He never has hair.
He had hair in... What did he have? He had definitely had hair in something. Well, he had hair Iron Giant era, and then he had hair... Was it... It's not Be Cool.
Nah, because I mean, like I remember.
What about the first Triple X?
No, he's bald in that one. He's bald in the Pacifier.
What about Saving Private Ryan? Is that the one where he's got hair?
I think he's bald in that one too. I'll look it up.
Vin Diesel's baldography.
Yeah. What's your favorite movie of the year?
This is not going to be surprising, but it might be to Josh. For the time being, it was the best superhero movie. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 2. Granted, it's been dwarfed dozens and dozens of times over, I think, since. But there's this earnestness to it that was refreshing, and it's still one of, not the best Spider-Man movie. There's like 2 or 3 by now that are better than it, but I think it took all the stuff that worked in the first Spider-Man, but then elevated to a whole separate level. You introduced one of the best comic book villains of all time, and Alfred Molina's Doc Ock. I'm fully saying this as biased because Doc Ock was one of my favorites when I read the comics as a kid. So I didn't see this in theater, so I watched it, but I remember the, like, what's the reflective, like the lithograph, whatever, things that were cards that were in Lunchables, like the marketing campaign for Spider-Man 2 was everywhere. And also, every kid in America grew up playing Spider-Man 2 on some form of a console. Spider-Man 2 is just peak. But the movie, for a while there, it was the template of what a good superhero movie should be, of just make the story personal. Take the character out of the suit for a good stretch of time and get us to care about the character. Like, there's a good stretch of time that he does not have the Spider-Man suit. When it says Spider-Man no more, they actually make it mean something. Wow, what a novel concept. And to me, this is a slight spoiler for story beats that'll be unfolded in the coming months, but I think superhero costumes are an often overlooked storytelling element, and I think they utilized it well for Spider-Man 2 of literally throwing it away. One one of my favorite tropes that I'll never get sick of in movies is when a character has like a homemade suit and then they finally get the suit that they get from the comics, or they actually earn the comic book equivalent of what they're supposed to wear. I like that. Spider-Man 2 just works across the board for me. If there's anything that I think is downside, it's the downside to the entire trilogy, and it's Kirsten Dunst's MJ. She just sucks throughout. But that was the peak of that era of Spider-Man. Still a lot of people's pick for the top comic book movie of all time. I don't know if I'd go that far. I don't think I ever went that far for my love of it. But as a Spider-Man fan growing up, and still to this day, I think it will always hold a special place in my heart. And from a technical standpoint, it's still really well made. Some of the CG still holds up pretty well. They were doing groundbreaking things for 2004.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. This one's really, really tough for me. Partially because I only want to use one movie per franchise, and later on there's one in this there's one in one of these franchises that I like the best out of them. So honestly, I think I'm gonna have to go The Incredibles. I think it is up there with probably top 5 Pixar movies of all time. It's incredible with what they did. It's one of the ones I quote the most, I think. Syndrome is equal parts terrifying, but like also understandable as a villain as well. It's really, really hard, I think, in 2004 to pick a number one, but I think I have to go with the Incredibles given the scenario we're in.
Moving on to 2000. Oh, yeah.
I looked it up. I did some live Google. He is bald in Triple X. And then he and I have the same amount of hair in Saving Private Ryan. So like, when I shave my head and like, it kind of looks like I have hair, but not really. Like, yeah, that's the kind of hair he has in Saving Private Ryan.
He had hair for Iron Giant.
There's only been like one movie that he had hair for, and it was like really, really weird to watch because it was definitely one of those like, you should shave your hair, buddy.
Hold on, didn't he have hair in Babylon AD? Why am I pulling Babylon AD out of my butt?
About a movie that does not matter.
God.
Let me see. Live Google. Yeah, it's the same amount of hair as in Saving Private Ryan.
But there's at least like, some hair there.
He quote unquote has hair, but it's like it's a shaven head.
That movie's got a 7% of Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes, it is not good.
But how the heck did I remember Babylon AD? Man, my brain is weird. My brain's wired weird.
I'm gonna live Google it because there's There's that one movie that he was in. Oh geez, what's the movie?
Yeah, he was in something like Be Cool or something where he was like a gangster or something.
Movie. Whoa. Yeah, there's like some movie he has hair, and I can't find it. Oh, I mean he has hair in Witch Hunter.
But we don't count that because I don't think that was his hair. Vin Diesel's the biggest nerd in the world. Just for making The Last Witch Hunter alone, that was like,
dude,
it's like using your power in Hollywood, and then there's really using your power, and that was him really using his power. Speaking of Vin Diesel, though, in 2005, back on track, he was in a movie called The Pacifier that the critics are way too hard on. The Pacifier is entertainingly stupid, and I love it.
I was gonna say, I have such a soft spot for Pacifier. I don't know why, but it's super entertaining. Like, there's a lot of movies in 2005 that are like kind of garbage, but also like fun garbage. So
yeah. So 2005, we get. Again, I'm realizing as we talk about this, I like more rom-coms than I think. I'm just very, very particular about them because one of my favorites, Fever Pitch, and one of the few good Jimmy Fallon movies. Sahara, one of the most underrated adventure movies of all time. Y'all didn't go out and support that movie in theaters. Shame on you. Revenge of the Sith, Madagascar, Cinderella Man. Almost taking the top spot, Batman Begins. Sky High. An underrated Shia LaBeouf movie, The Greatest Game Ever Played. Love that movie. Goblet of Fire, one of my favorite in the entire franchise besides the final movie. Walk the Line, Peter Jackson's King Kong, Coach Carter, and Will Smith's Hitch. I use that way too often in my vernacular whenever I'm describing what I'm allergic to. I'm just going, y'all see the movie Hitch? Yeah, my allergic reactions are a lot like that. And they're going, oh, okay.
That's funny. But like also like I think to me one of my favorite Saw movies in the franchise, Saw 2 is comes out that year. The Lion Witch and the Wardrobe comes out that year. One of my favorite Adam Sandler movies, The Longest Yard. Love that movie. Pride and Prejudice, Mr. and Mrs.
Ugh.
Smith, Madagascar. Say what you will, but that movie still lives in my head rent free sometimes. Like, gosh, dude. Or even like Robots with Robin Williams is
That
in
has
that
not
movie.
aged as well as you think it has.
No, it has not, but it doesn't make it any less funny.
I love that it's like making the rounds on social media now of just like, what is this movie? As people take like out of context clips from the movie and we're just going,
Yes.
we were alive for the movie and we even can't explain it to you of like
Yeah.
why you have Robin Williams as a robot cross-dressing, doing combat fighting dancing to Hit Me Baby One More Time. Like we cannot
It's so
explain it to
funny.
you.
Or like the mom robot of the group is called Fanny because she's got a big caboose. Like, come on.
And
That's
Ewan
so
McGregor
good.
is the only reason I saw this movie is because Ewan McGregor was a blue robot.
It's fun. Okay. It's not perfect, but it's a good time. Goblet of Fire was the first Harry Potter movie I saw. Was my first interaction with the series at all. So yeah, Goblet of Fire is literally my favorite of the series. I think it's the best. It's at least the most well-rounded of the series, I think. It is the most entertaining, perhaps. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, a bunch of fantastic movies. I'm curious though as to what your number one's going to be.
So this is one that like, if I have to defend my position, I won't be able to, just because there's a lot of candidates that could have done this. But I didn't go with Batman Begins for the same reason I didn't go with Fellowship in 2001. It's like I didn't want to completely dominate with one specific franchise, which is why I went with Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
Because honestly, with Lord of the Rings finishing 2 years earlier, it left this desire for fantasy in a lot of people's minds. And as someone that read the books a lot as a kid, it adapts the book incredibly well. But also, they did not have to go as hard as they did on this movie from like a production design standpoint, CGI standpoint. Like for 2005, there's quite a few of this that still looks incredibly good. Like Aslan still looks outstanding. The beavers still look outstanding. The warfare and the final fight, outstanding. Like the cinematography, showing actual battle strategy. I'm going, oh, this is interesting and compelling. Sure, the children actors aren't necessarily the best, but the world is introduced to one James McAvoy. Tilda Swinton is a terrifying white witch. And honestly,
In the movie.
In real life, she's an alien from planet Zebtar, and she's just come and to learn about human culture, but she stumbled upon an acting career instead, where she's very good at it. But honestly, I can't hear anybody else's voice as Aslan but Liam Neeson's. He was inspired casting. He wouldn't. I don't think as a kid he would have been my pick, but for the many facets of Aslan, he perfectly exudes all of them. Like I said, cinematography, production design, Harry Gregson Williams music. The music in Narnia is so good.
Agreed.
Just across the board. If you only watch one Narnia movie, because that's probably what you should do, watch The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and then wish that they made more movies and don't actually watch the other movies that they made. They made weird choices with the rest of the movies. Looking at you, Prince Caspian, somehow bringing back the White Witch.
Yeah, it's okay because I like you. I read the books a lot. Growing up. I think the final battle, the last one, is my favorite of the series. It was the first time a book made me cry, actually. But yeah, the one Lion the Witch, the Wardrobe is fantastic. It's still aged pretty well. It was one of those like it definitely there was that longing for fantasy, and they stuck to the book and did such an incredible job to the point that like I don't know about you, but I was excited to see what they do with the rest of the books. Prince Caspian's fine. It is. I think it's if you haven't read the books, it's just as good as the first movie. But Voyage of the Dawn Treader, they go way off course, and the movie suffers because of it, I think.
That's because if I remember correctly, Voyage of the Dawn Treader was not Disney.
Correct, and they just kind of stopped. So, and allegedly Netflix has the. Does Netflix still have the rights now to that?
As far as I know, yes.
Gross. I mean, maybe if
they're
sold
just gonna
some
sit
of
on them. They're just gonna sit on it.
Oh man. Anyway, so my favorite movie this year is one that I watch every single year on a specific day. V for Vendetta is easily one of the best movies. Yeah, dude, I will fight you.
That was 2006.
That is 2000.
That's
2000. No, I have it marked down.
2006.
No.
2006.
No, it's 2005.
What? I have it in my 2006 category.
It is 2005. I'm looking it up just to make sure.
What? Wikipedia lied to me?
Wikipedia says.
What the heck?
Okay, I see what okay. I see what's going on. It was released
March 17th, 2006 in the US. Did it get an international release first?
Its initial release was 2005.
Gotcha.
Okay. Wow, that's
Screw
annoying.
you, V for Vendetta. On a technicality, it could go for either 2005 or 2006 if whatever boat you float.
Yeah, and I think honestly, yeah, I'm gonna keep just for my sake. I'm gonna keep it in 2005. Yeah, just because there's some good ones in 2006 as well.
Yeah,
but
there is.
I think I'm gonna leave V for Vendetta in 2005, which is kind of crazy. I didn't realize that could. I mean, I knew that could happen, but like
1917, it technically opened in 2019, but wide release in 2020.
Yeah, that's wild. That's really crazy, actually. Anyway, but yeah, V for Vendetta. It's a movie I watch every single year. Like literally, it's one of the only movie traditions I think I hold still to this day. We did it in college. I've done it every year since then. Incredible film. Sticks is like I watched it, which is crazy. I watched it with my family for the first time in like 2020, which was like really wild to being that like the government in the movie created a virus to put control on its people, and like in 2020 that was very much like a fear that was happening. Gosh, what an incredible movie. Hugo Weaving, fantastic. Literally everybody's acting their butts off in this film. I think this was the moment where I realized that, and mostly because the only place I'd seen Natalie Portman before was in the Star Wars films. So like this was the moment that was like, oh, she can like legit act. Holy crap. Like, dude, Natalie Portman is killing it in V for Vendetta.
V for Vendetta is a lot like 1 Hour Photo of it's only aged better with time of just like, why did you have to be so right about so many things? Why couldn't you just be wrong? Like, I don't like that this is uncomfortably accurate. But moving into 2006, V for Vendetta is a great movie. It's not my top movie for 2006. It was always an honorable mention, but I just had that mild panic like, oh, no. V for Vendetta, Glory Road, an often overlooked Disney sports movie. I like
mainly because it deals heavily in the racism of basketball, and a lot of people, especially in 2006, were not ready for that conversation.
Well, also I think it was either January or February release, so only one of the hottest of movies comes out.
Fair.
She's the Man with Amanda Bynes and Channing Tatum.
Fantastic. Dude.
Monster House, still one of my favorite animated Halloween movies, like
Agreed.
family-friendly Halloween movies of all time. One of the best football movies of all time with Invincible. Like, if just
Dude,
watch the
so
not the mud wrestling, the mud football scene
Mud
again.
wrestling? We're watching mud wrestling? Okay,
Yes,
yeah.
mud wrestling
I'm
with
in.
Mark Wahlberg. Mud football with Mark Wahlberg. Honestly, it doesn't sound that special, but the music and which is what the scene means, it's like that's football. The Departed. Here's where I'm gonna shock. No, I'll save that one for last. Actually, Casino Royale, Pursuit of Happiness, Night at the Museum, and here's where I shock Josh. Rocky Balboa.
Okay, yeah. All right, I know what your number one is then.
Which
but yeah,
okay,
like-
if you do. Rocky Balboa was going to be my top one, but I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna swap it for this one else instead, because Rocky Balboa really is my favorite in the franchise, but I think there's something technically made better.
Yep, no, I feel that. I mean, some people love this movie. It is not my favorite, mostly because the main character doesn't make sense. But Tokyo Drift came out that year. One of my favorite Jet Li movies, Fearless, came out that year, showing like how like martial arts could be filmed and what it looks like against other styles. Fantastic. The legendary 300 came out that year. Night at the Museum, which is a super underrated
trilogy.
Movie. I love those movies. Ice Age 2, come on. Also, okay, I'm gonna say this, and I know I'm gonna catch flack, but at the time, because I know this movie has been memed to death, but at the time, I loved Cars. I thought Cars was so good when it came out. Are you kidding me? Like, you could fight me on it. I don't care. I think it's a fantastic movie.
It's because that was your first movie in the theaters.
Yeah, well, screw you. Also,
I remember that.
Yes. What was that? I remember doing well, but like at the award shows, but like Mel Gibson, not Mel Gibson. Yeah, Mel Gibson's Apocalyptico came out that year. The one with about Mayan people or something.
That he completely got the races wrong.
Yeah, which is crazy. Also, you know, I'm going to say this one because I know you're not going to say this one. The Illusionist, which is
I saw it coming a mile away.
Yeah, it is good if you haven't seen the other magic movie that came out this year.
Yes, it is the Costco version of my top movie of 2006, which is The Prestige. I saw The Prestige. Okay. 3, half times before I finally saw. So the first time I watched The Prestige, I've rented it from a local library, and every single time the DVD was jank, so it like freeze and shut down halfway through every single time. So if you watch the first half of The Prestige 3 times in a row, you kind of figure out what's going to happen in the second half. That didn't detract it at all for me. I still think The Prestige is probably one of Christopher Nolan's more underrated movies. Like, as soon as The Dark Knight came out, everyone was like, oh, The Dark Knight. And then Inception. Oh, Dunkirk. Oh, Interstellar. I'm like, The Prestige is just a simple story of one-upsmanship and bravado and ego, but it's done so well.
Very well, yeah.
I love The Prestige. I love it because, just like any good magic trick, the answer is right in front of your face, but because it's so simple, you don't want to believe that that's the answer. And I'm like, it's kind of genius. But upon rewatches, you're just like, oh, why is Christian Bale wearing a beard in this scene? Because that's clearly Christian Bale with a beard. You're not hiding Christian Bale with a beard here. It's so well done. It's such an engaging story. It does make me hate The Illusionist a little bit more because they're not trying to do the same thing. They're really not. They're two separate movies. One is just done so much better. It's a Bug's Life and Ants situation here. No, not even Bug's Life Ants.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that to The Illusionist. Like, it's not. As
it's
bad.
Worse. It's Finding Nemo and Shark Tale.
Okay.
It's Finding Nemo and Shark Tale is what it is.
Okay, see, but like that, like some people love Shark Tale. So
are you one of them?
I am not. I absolutely am not.
But they sing working at the car wash while working at a car wash.
I want to smack my head with that DVD every time I see it. But yeah, like for me, Balboa is the best movie of the year.
It's
To
so
me,
good.
it's the best Rocky movie ever.
Same.
It's got some of the best speeches. The fights are fantastic. Sylvester Stallone is at his best, in my opinion, in this movie. Fantastic film. One that we watch from time to time. I I have a vivid memory about 3 or 4 years ago when I was at some job talking, I was in the kitchen talking to the front of house people that are all younger than me. And I was like, yeah, man, you've never seen Balboa? I mean, it came out fairly recently. This was like in like 2019 or something. Like I was like, it came out recently. No, it didn't, Josh. What do you mean?
I'll be honest, when Rocky Balboa came out was when I first started getting interested in Rocky. So I think I watched Rocky 4 first. 4, 1, 6. I watched them all kinds of jank out of order, but it didn't matter. They're still great, and Creed is right around the corner, and I cannot wait for him to die at the hands of Jonathan Majors. Die right in time for them to make Creed 4, as they've already confirmed. Spoiler alert, he's going to survive. The main protagonist is going to survive. Unless it's about...
the only way I can see is if it's about his daughter after she grows up. Which
I was about to say, Jonathan Majors just takes the franchise, and it's all about Damien. Creed 4 is secretly just called Creed 4. Damien.
I was gonna say if they do pull the trigger and quote unquote pull the trigger, and kill Adonis, I think the fourth one's got to be his daughter, which I wouldn't be surprised with. I'm fine with that. I have no qualms against that.
So we get to 2007, and this is the first of 2 years that as soon as I saw the list of movies, I'm going, oh, nope, it's that one. Don't even have to think for more than 2 seconds. It is that movie right there. This is an easy one. But other movies that came out in 2007 besides the top movie are Shooter. I'm sure this movie is going to be in consideration for Josh. TMNT. Edgar Wright's...
One of the last times we had a really, really good Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie.
Edgar Wright's Hot Fuzz. Ocean's 13. I'm saying Ocean's 13 is the best of the trilogy. I actually like it more than 11. I really like 13. I really like 13
I don't think
a lot.
I've seen 13. I don't think I've seen 13 because I just
really
hated 12 so much.
No, 12 does suck. No, 13. I think 13 is my favorite. I really like 13 a lot.
Okay. Okay.
Here's where I might surprise Josh. 1408.
Okay. No, I'm with you on that one.
Transformers. It's fantastic. In 2007, there was a clear-cut winner here. Transformers, one of Michael Bay's best movies. I will always die on that hill that the first Transformers is really, really fun. Bourne Ultimatum, and 3:10 to Yuma. I'm sure there's some others that I missed here.
I mean, yeah, like the No Country for Old Men.
Oh, that was 2007?
Yeah, dude. No Country for Old Men.
It's still close, but I'm sticking with my pick. It's still it's closer, though.
In my opinion, the best of the Fantastic Four series, the Rise of the Silver Surfer. Saying it's the best of the series is not really saying much, but
minus Jessica Alba's weird hair.
Yeah, even with saying that, it's still such a cool movie. Speaking of cool movies, Ghost Rider came out that year. It's not good, but it was fun. At World's End, Hot Rod, which is easily one of my favorite comedies. Dan in Real Life, which is one of my favorite Steve Carell movies. I Am Legend came out that year. Freaking Juno, like Order of the Phoenix. There's so much that came out that year. It's just pretty dang cool. Ratatouille. Did we talk about Ratatouille? Ratatouille came out that year. I love Ratatouille.
I'm not the biggest fan of Ratatouille.
I
think Brad Bird's services and talents are better utilized elsewhere.
Fair enough.
So what's your top movie then for 07?
Bourne Ultimatum.
Really?
I think it's my favorite of the series. I think it's the one that finally learned to ease up on the shaky cam a little bit. Shaky cam's fine. It works well in certain scenarios, but like I love Identity, but the shaky cam whenever he's running anywhere or in any kind of fight gets really old really fast. They use it. They ease up a little bit on it in Supremacy. In Supremacy, but like all of the Asian fights are almost unwatchable because of the shaky cam. Ultimatum, fantastic though. It's got some great lines, but it's the legendary well, if you were here, then we'd be having this conversation face to face. Like, oh yeah, no, dude, so good. Love the Bourne Ultimatum.
That surprises me. Because my top one. No, why? There we go. Don't give me that. Just have to double check that the director is who I think it is. Because I was like 90% sure. I was like 90% sure, but not 100. David Fincher's Zodiac.
Yeah,
Zodiac is so good. Like, before it became a popular trend to just be like, oh, I'm going to listen to the murder podcast. You know what? Put down the murder podcast and listen to a movie podcast. Preferably hosted by two white dudes that don't know what they're talking about. I mean, that doesn't actually narrow down the list, but listen to ours instead of a murder podcast. But before, like, serial killers were a popular thing, which is still a terrifying sentence that we have nowadays, there was Zodiac with arguably one of the strongest casts ever. You get Mark Ruffalo, Jake Gyllenhaal, Robert Downey Jr., you got one of the guys from Mindhunter. It's just so well done, top to bottom. It's on the long side-ish, but it's such a good thriller. I think, hands down, this is the best movie that I saw from 2000. Like, I didn't see it when it came out, but I've seen it subsequent times ever since, and it's just a masterclass in how to do a serial killer movie. It's just so well done.
Yeah, the only reason I didn't bring it up is because I haven't seen it. So
yeah, I kind of wondered.
Yeah, so I haven't seen that movie. It's been on the list to be seen for a while, but I just haven't gotten to it.
Now we got to 2008, which is before even 2007. 2008, I was just like, 2008, it's taken care of. I don't even have to look at the rest of the calendar. I just know 2008 belongs to The Dark Knight, and then there's everyone else. Like, if anybody has been following film for any like the time, you know The Dark Knight came out in 2008 just because it really shook up the movie industry, and there's a big contingent of sweaty film fans that really gravitated towards that movie, and their love of film comes from that one movie and one movie alone.
Oh, so like you. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. But there's a lot of other, the marketing campaign for Dark Knight was everywhere, but Dark Knight, easily my top pick for 2008. One of the best movies, not just of the year, but honestly, it's right up there. Return of the King of the best movie of the 2000s, just as a decade. But besides The Dark Knight, 2008 had a really, really stacked year of all over the place type of movies. You had movies like Matt Reeves' Cloverfield, the surprisingly good Rambo, which has no right being as good as it was. They should have just ended it there. In Bruges, a movie Josh still needs to see because it's right up his alley with Colin Farrell and
trust me,
Brendan Gleeson. Be Kind, Rewind. Very underrated movie that I think if anybody has ever done anything creative, you should check it out. The start of the MCU with Iron Man. Started off very, very strong. Iron Man's great. The Strangers, one of Josh and I's favorite horror movies that you never, ever watch by yourself. Don't do it. One of my favorite comedies, not named Robin Hood Men in Tights, Get Smart. WALL-E, Step Brothers. I love Tropic Thunder so much. Another, we say this all the time, another underrated Shia LaBeouf movie, Eagle Eye. Not enough people talk about Eagle Eye.
Oh my gosh, I love Eagle Eye.
Eagle Eye, and then the most depressing movie of 2008, and probably the most depressing movie this side of Requiem for a Dream, which is funny because it's the same guy, The Wrestler, starring Mickey Rourke.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to go with the boy in the striped pajamas. That's also heart-wrenching. On a lighter tone, Horton Hears Who came out that year, which is something that I always revisit. They're not good, but like they definitely took a stab at like a quote unquote superhero world with a Hancock or Jumper. Both like, they're not great, but like enjoyable at least.
Hancock had a really good first half.
Yeah, absolutely. And then
it just went completely off the rails.
Jumper was a world where like I enjoyed it and I wanted to like explore it more, I think it was the big thing for me. I enjoyed the film quite a bit, but I really wish they had made a sequel or something. Comes out in 2008, which is like, it's hard to talk about Taken now because it's been memed to death so much, but like when Taken came out, it was a big deal, really big deal.
Taken's 2009.
What is happening?
Once again.
I have it in 2000. What in the world? All right, let's see. Let's find out. Watch it do the same thing. Wikipedia.
All right, I'm coming on IMDb. It says, "Oh, come on, give me a release date." 2000.
Same thing.
Mine says 2008 on IMDb.
Yeah, it says 2008 in France, and then it was released in 2009 in the United States.
Why would you release it in France first? France is the bad guy.
Especially like, especially like with the way that the movie is. If we do want to talk about movies that are easily memed to death, Wanted came out that year as well. I'm only bringing this up because it's culturally significant, not because it's a good film. It is not good by any stretch of the imagination. But Twilight came out in 2008. That was the beginning of that crap fest.
Robert Pattinson.
God, I feel so bad for him because this was like the first, and for a lot of people, the last time they watched Robert Pattinson, especially in the mainstream. And like, you just miss so much of it if this is the only movie you've seen. Gran Torino, Kung Fu Panda came out that year.
Move over, Dark Knight. Okay.
I mean, there is a conversation to be had about that because
but let's be honest. Kung Fu Panda 2 is where it's at.
Oh, dude, absolutely.
Kung Fu Panda 2 is, in the words of Martin Scorsese, this is cinema.
It's so good. But yeah, like Dark Knight, absolutely best movie of the year. It is one of the last times I will enjoy a Batman movie from Christopher Nolan.
There's only one more.
I mean, that's fair, but Dark Knight is so good. It's really sad of what it did to Heath, but at the same time, like, his performance is out of this world. The movie is incredible. Everybody's firing on all cylinders. It's the first, probably, and hopefully not the last time, we got Batman with white eyes for like a short span of time.
One scene. At least they tried.
Yeah, they tried at least. I appreciated it that they tried it in that way, because it was like, okay, we have to have a reason. We can't just give it to him now that we're, a second movie in. So I appreciated that. Such a good film. It's hard to not pick it. Easily one of the best movies of the 2000s. Dark Knight all the way.
Now, lastly, we have 2009. Oh, this is another one of, there's a lot of great, but it's really, really hard to pick the top movie.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, hey, did you know Taken came out in 2009?
Screw you.
And 2008 in France. Little known fact, apparently.
Taken, which is interesting. Like that kind of like, I don't want to talk about it now, but like that is super interesting. Like, okay, so then release dates, like which one actually quote unquote matters, and like stuff like that. Like, yeah.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around, why did Taken open in France first?
Yeah.
Like,
it's literally about like the underbelly of France. Like, why would you do
France
that?
are the bad guys. Like, okay, sure. Arguably one of the best Friday the 13th movies of all time, the Michael Bay remake in 2009, is still one of the best in the entire franchise. I will fight anyone on that. Once again, this is the second time I'm saying this today, but one of Zack Snyder's best movies, Watchmen. I know that's a very divisive movie, which you could say that about any Zack Snyder movie, but I think for the most part, he gets Watchmen right. There's some major story elements that I think he misses the point, but for the most part, I think it's a very well-made movie. The Soloist with Robert Downey Jr. and Jamie Foxx, very good movie.
Yeah.
One of my favorite and most rewatched Harry Potter movies, Half-Blood Prince.
Agreed.
Half-Blood Prince is, I'm not looking at it from the movie perspective, I'm looking at it from the book perspective. It was the desperately needed bounce back that the series needed after the low point that was Order of the Phoenix as a book. The movie, I think, is better than the book when it comes to Order of the Phoenix, because the book just drags too much stuff out. And I remember when you were reading the books, you're just like, Order of the Phoenix sucks. And then you get to Half-Blood Prince, you're just like, all right, I'm back on board, baby.
Yeah, absolutely.
My only criticism with Half-Blood Prince is it's PG, and I don't know why. That easily could have gone PG-13 and has like one of the most devastating movie endings I've ever seen, especially if you're like some of the people that I saw the movie with at midnight didn't know what the ending would be, going, enjoy your drive home in sadness. One of Josh and I's favorite horror movies in 2009, Orphan, so good. And Josh has a crush on the girl. Now police are coming for you.
Don't put that out there. All right, it's one of those movie like actor crushes that's really hard to like defend for the people that don't realize that she's
the age is a thing.
Woman. Yeah, like that she's not actually a child. Like, come on, chill out.
A child.
I don't like having that conversation because there's no way to come out of that conversation and not even anybody in your mind be like, it's a little like a pedophile. I was like, no, it's not. I promise. No.
It was a pedophile. We also have District 9. We also have Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. The only time I've ever liked Jesse Eisenberg besides Social Network, Zombieland. Love Zombieland so much. The Blind Side. Sandra Bullock, you did not deserve your Academy Award for that movie. You're fine in it, but come on. Trick or Treat. Love Trick or Treat. And my last honorable mention, for a time, this was my favorite movie just in the entire world, ever. Robert Downey Jr., Sherlock Holmes.
Interesting. No,
I was super high on this movie.
But...
And I look at it now, I'm like, this is fine, but wow. I was really swayed by the theater going experience for this movie. Like, I really like Sherlock Holmes. But come on now, 2009, Nathan. Come on now. Is it really? I'm curious to see what Josh's number one is for 2009.
Yeah,
mine is like I guess this is it.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that here, because like Half-Blood Prince is really good. But I've already done Goblet of Fire, so I don't want to repeat. The first J.J. Abrams Star Trek comes out this year in 2009, which is a lot of fun. I know it's divisive, but for me, I really, really enjoyed them. Inglourious Bastards, Law Abiding Citizen, Up came out that year. One of my biggest guilty pleasure movies, Ninja Assassin, came out that year. One of the scariest PG movies you'll ever see came out that year with Caroline.
Oh no.
Yeah, that movie should not be PG because that is terrifying. It is super good. Fantastic Mr. Fox came out that year as well.
And that's not your top?
No, actually. This year was hard because I think 2009 has a lot of really good movies, but nothing that's like great. I think. Oh, and I guess Avatar came out that year too. Oh well. I honestly, I think I'm going to go with Inglourious Bastards. I really enjoy the film. I think it's really good. I think I might like Half-Blood Prince more, but because I'm not trying to oversaturate this list, I think I'm going to go Inglourious Bastards. Up is fantastic. Zombieland is one of my personal favorites, but I think as far as like how well a movie is made, I think Inglourious Bastards has got to be up there.
That is a good movie. I'm going to surprise you, and I'm going to go J.J. Abrams Star Trek. I think.
Yeah.
It sounds really, really sad, and maybe it's just a testament to him as a director, but JJ works at his best when he's just stealing from other people and trying to do his Star Wars audition tape before he got Force Awakens, because there's so much Star Wars in this Star Trek movie.
There
and
is.
I know a lot of Trekkies hate it for that reason. I'm going, oh, I'm sorry. Were you just mad that there's a financially successful Star Trek movie for once? And Star Trek movies actually had back-to-back-to-back good movies for once instead of every other movie. I was not a Trekkie at all. Like, I've seen some of the movies. Wrath of Khan is one of the most important movies in my entire life, but that's a story for another day. So I was curious enough about the new Star Trek. I was like, this could be fun. I remember just being blown away when I walked out of that theater. My entire family was like, "That was spectacular." That
Yeah,
more than
absolutely.
in a year that had Avatar, which whatever. I understand and respect Avatar's place in movie history. Star Trek was the one movie in 2009 that I walked away just going, "That was a spectacle meant for the big screen." I
Yeah.
was not invested in this franchise, but now I am. It's just a well-made ensemble adventure story, and I will always be on board with those type of like big fun ensemble cast movies. I think everyone not named Zachary Quinto is cast perfectly. Like, he's not bad, but his Spock is lacking compared to
Okay.
other characters. Like Carl Urban as Bones, just you are the best. And rest in peace, Anton Yelchin as
Anton is so good in
Chekhov.
this movie.
Everyone's
God.
perfect. Him, Simon Pegg. But also, I know, again, Star Trek fans hate these new movies. They hate the Kelvin timeline, but I really actually like how they incorporated Leonard Nimoy's Spock into the story of just being like,
Yes.
because of timeline shenanigans, I'm here. You're destined to do great things. I like how they weave that narrative into it. Into Darkness is my favorite of all three of them, and I know that's
I really
the least.
enjoy it. Yeah.
I know that one is like the least popular of the three. Some people downright hate it. I really like Into Darkness, but just for clear rebooting the franchise, Star Trek is a really, really good start, and I really, really enjoy it. I think it's definitely my favorite movie from 2009, and I think it's the best movie of 2009.
I agree. No, I'm with you. It's super good. I just it I'm with you in that, like, I didn't have a lot of like interaction with the Star Trek franchise before these films. And it's just, gosh dang, it's so much fun.
I need to go
Even
rewatch
though,
the first one again.
yeah, like even the third one, what is it, Horizons?
Beyond. Star Trek
Beyond
Beyond.
Horizons.
It's just
Literally
Beyond.
has one of the, it's so much fun as well. Like, it is definitely the weakest of the three, but like it's a solid fun time. I think JJ did a really good job, and people, Trekkies will crap all over all three, but he did a really good job of making Star Trek a little bit more accessible to like the mainstream, as opposed to, and as much as I like it now, like the Picard stuff, and it I like Picard and like the and all of that Star Trek stuff, but like that's also my philosophy brain. I like that stuff a lot because like of a lot of the stuff philosophy that goes into it. But these movies made Star Trek very accessible to the mainstream. Whereas, you know, like Star Wars doesn't care. It's Star Wars is going to do what Star Wars is going to do. Whereas Star Trek is like, okay, we have to find a way to do this. And you know, props to JJ. Having to do Star Trek in a different way enough to where, like, okay, this is just a ripoff of Star Wars, and you know the people aren't saying that. So, but also make it mainstream enough to where people will come in and enjoy it. So, like, absolute props to him on that.
And that probably is maybe where his career peaked. No, I still think he did a fantastic job with Force Awakens. People want to crap on
I agree.
the sequel trilogy as a whole. I think Force Awakens still, in a vacuum, is a fantastic movie. But what do you guys think? What are your favorite, or what do you think are the best movies that came out from the years 2000 to 2009? Let us know down in the comments. We always like hearing from you guys. And as always, if you like what you hear and you want to hear more, subscribe to us on whatever audio platform you're listening to us on, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or YouTube. And if you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube. Help us get to 800 subscribers as we make our slow climb to 1,000 subscribers. And as always, stay sharp, movie guys and gals.